Welcome to channel Qautomation. In today's session we will see how to work with input box, what are the methods, what are the assertions we can use with input box. Input box is nothing but input fields. So whenever we are operating with input box, it allows you to interact with input elements in web applications effectively. We can use different type of methods to perform and validate various actions on input boxes as well. Some of the examples are, which we have already seen, like methods like fill. So if there is an input box, for example, if you take this website, there are username field, password field. These are nothing but input boxes in which we can enter some text in these input boxes. So what are the different type of methods we can use? That we will see practically. So one method that we have already seen is fill method. By using fill method, we can pass the text which we can enter in that input box. So let me create one new file and then we will see what are the different methods and assertions we can use with input boxes. So I'm just creating a new file, input box demo.spec.js. Inside this I'm going to paste the syntax. So this is the constant test comma expect which we are importing from Playwright test module. Then we have created one test block. We have given title of the test case. Then we have created one anonymous function in which we are passing the page fixture. We have to use async keyword, and then we have used in this test block we are using await page.go to this website which we are going to open. After opening this website, this is the input box on which I am going to perform some operations. So I want to enter some username here. For example, standard user. So first I have to locate that username field. I want to locate this username field. If you see, input ID is a tag, user hyphen name is attribute. So I'm just writing XPath for this. Input @ ID equals to user hyphen name. So it is capturing that username input box. So this XPath locator I am using, I am going to paste it in our next statement. Await page dot go to, not go to, but page dot locator. In this I am passing that locator. And now, before entering any value in this username field, there are some validations which we can perform. So if I want to check whether this username field is actually editable or not, I want to check if this username is editable or not. For that I can use one method, that is to be editable. So I can use this method dot to be editable. So on this locator I can use this method, that is so if you see, to be editable is basically assertion. That assertion we can use with expect function. Just remember, to be editable is basically assertion. To be empty is also assertion. And whenever we are going to use assertions, we have to use expect function. So if I want to check that this field by using expect function, I want to simply use expect. Inside this expect block, I am passing this locator, and then we can use to be editable. So what it will check? If that field is editable or not. If that field is editable, then this assertion will pass. Otherwise, this assertion will fail. So now, after that, what I will do, I will just pass some value in that locator. So what I will do, await page.locator. In this, I am just passing that locator. Let's pass this input field locator in this. And then we can use dot fill, which will pass the string, let's say standard underscore user. So it will pass this standard user to that input field. Now let's execute this file to check whether this assertions works correctly or not. So let me just execute this file. What is the file name? We have to pass the file name here. File name is input underscore box underscore CEMO. So instead of demo, we have created the file name with underscore CEMO. So I am just using the same file name. So it will execute this file, it will launch this page, it will find this locator, and it will check whether that locator is editable or not. If it is editable, then only this assertion will pass, and it will move to next line to pass this standard user value inside that username field. So now if you see, it will open the web page, and in username field, it is successfully passing standard user as a value. So that is one of the assertion which we have used here. Now the same thing we can use by using some different method as well. So I am just commenting this part. Now what I will do, we can also use one of the method that is editable. So let's say await page dot locator. In this I am passing the locator value of this into input field. I am passing that value, and then we also have one method that is editable. Now editable function or method, this will return true or false. If this locator is editable, then it will return, this statement will return boolean value. So this statement will return either true or false. If it is editable, it will return true. If that field is not editable, it will return false. For example, I will just create one boolean variable, let's say constant editable. I am creating one constant variable. I am creating one constant editable in which I am storing the value which will be returned by this statement. So it can either return true or it can either return false, and that we are storing in editable. So if that locator value is editable, it will return true. If that value is not editable, it will return false. So what I will do, I will just print that statement. So let's say console.log, and in this I am just passing this value that we are capturing. So if you execute this file, it will check if this locator is editable or not. If it is editable, it will return value as true, and that value we are printing in this statement. So now let me execute this file. So let's execute this file. So it will start the execution. It will start the execution. It will open the page. It will check that username input field is editable or not. If it is editable, it should return value as true. It is passing the value. Then it will close the browser in 5 seconds. And now if you see the console output, it is showing you true. That means the editable value is true. So this is also one of the way by which we can use editable method to check if the input field is editable or not. And the same thing we can use like this as well. So instead of saving this, what I can do, I can put one direct assertion as well. So await along with expect function, I have to use expect function. Then I am checking this locator value dot is editable, which will return true or false. So after that, so inside this expect block, I am passing this statement which will check whether it is returning true or false. So either it will return true or false. And along with expect function, I can simply use one to be true. So this is the function which will pass this assertion. So this expect assertion will pass if this statement's value is true, and then we are using to be true. Means if this statement is true, then only this assertion will pass and it will move to next statement. So now if I execute this file, it will move to next statement. So let me execute the file one more time. So let me execute this file. This time also this assertion will pass because the field is editable. It will return true, and that we are checking by using dot to be truthy method. So this method will pass, this assertion will pass at this line and it will move to next line. So let me execute this file. And it will pass that standard user value to input field because that assertion is passed. If you see, standard user is passed in this input field and the test case also passed. Now what I will do, if you see here, we are checking whether that locator value is editable or not, and that is giving you value as true, and that's why dot to be truthy becomes pass. This overall statement becomes pass. This assertion becomes pass. But what if instead of to be truthy, what I will pass dot to be falsy. Now what I am doing in assertion, I am expecting that this value should return as false. That means this field should not be editable. If it is not editable, then only this case will pass. So in this case, what will happen? So this will return true because that field is editable. So this statement will return true, but we are using dot to be falsy. So we are expecting it to be false, but it is giving you true. So this case will fail now. So if I execute this test case will fail. So this test case will fail at this point only. This assertion will fail at this point only. And since we are using hard assertion, it will not move to next statement. It will not fill this value in username field. So let's execute it now and check. So this time it will fail because we have used to be falsy method. And here we are getting the value as true and we are expecting it false. So it will be mismatch and test case will fail. So assertion will fail at line number 7 here. And line number 8 will not be executed. It will not fill standard user value inside my input field. So let's see the execution. If you see, it is not filling the username field, and at the same time the test case also failed. And it will open the report, and in the report also we can see expect to be falsy, but in reality it did not find it false. So if you see here, is editable to be falsy, but in reality it became as a true. That's why the test case got failed. That's the reason why test case got failed. So that is one of the assertion which we can use. So for what we have seen to be editable, which we can use with expect function directly. We can also use method like is enabled, is visible, is editable to check whether the inbox is. So is enabled is used to check if input box is interactable, ensuring that it is not disabled because some elements might be in disabled state. So if your input field is in disabled state, we can use is enabled method. So it will return true or false depending on whether that element is interactable or not. So in the same example, what I will do, I will pass, so this I will change. So what I will do, I am just passing this new method, that is enabled. So now let's see about is enabled, and I will check by using to be truthy. So this time what it will do, it will check and it will check that element is enabled or not. It will check if this element is enabled or not. This element is enabled state. It is editable also and it is enabled also. So this will again return the value as true, and this assertion will pass now. So let me execute this file one more time. So let me execute this file. So this assertion will pass this time, and it will move to next statement to pass this standard user value in input field. So let's execute it. That username field, it is enabled. That's why it will pass this assertion. So let's execute this file. And if you see, standard user is passed in that value because that field is enabled. That's why our test case also passed. So is enabled also method we can use to check whether that element is interactable or not. If that element is interactable, is enabled method will return true. If it is not, then it will return false. And not just with input boxes, we can use is enabled method with any type of locator to check whether that element is interactable or not. Similarly, we can use is visible method also. It will ensure that input box is visible on the page and it is not hidden or detached. If that user input box is not visible, it will return false. If it is visible, it will return true. That is also one of the examples. So what I will do, so instead of is enabled, now I will use dot is visible. So if this locator element is visible, it will return true and this assertion will pass. So let me execute this file. This time again the element is visible. That's why this will return as a true and it will pass this assertion. So it is executing the file. It is executing the file. It is running the test case now. It will open the web page. After opening the web page, it will check whether that username input field is visible or not. If it is visible, then it will pass the value in it. And the test case will also pass after that. The test case also passed. So we can use is visible method as well. So we have seen to be editable assertion, is enabled method, there is visible method, and we have also seen fill method. There is one more assertion, that is to be empty. So to be empty assertion will verify if that input box is having any text or not. Now when I open this web page, initially it is empty. Now what I will do, I will pass some value in it and then again I will use is empty assertion. But that time it will not return true because the value is already entered. So for example, if you see, I am launching the web page and opening the web page here. Then I am expecting that locator, instead of is visible, now I can use one more method, that is empty. So not empty, but we can use to be empty assertion. So instead of to be truthy, now what I will do, expect this locator dot to be empty. This is the method I am using now. It will check whether this input field is empty or not. So when initially the web page is open, that is empty. So it will pass this assertion. Then I am passing this standard user as input. And after that, if I use the same validation now let's say after entering the value of standard user in the input field, for the same input field, now I am again checking whether it is empty or not. Now whether it will be empty or not. After filling this value, it should return false now because it will not pass this assertion. It is expecting it to be empty, but we are passing the value before that. So it will fail this assertion at this point. It will fail the assertion at this point. And after that, I'm just adding one more statement. Let's say await page dot locator. This time I'm passing password field. So let's capture the locator for this password field as well. So id equals to password and input is a tag name. So @id, what is the XPath for this now? id equals to password. So this XPath will capture this password input field. So I'm just copying it, and here I'm just passing that locator, and then let's use fill method, which will pass password in that password field, but it will be executed only if this assertion gets passed. So now if I execute this file, what will happen? It will launch the browser. It will check whether username field is empty or not. In this step, it will find it empty. So this assertion will pass. It will move to line number 8. It will fill the standard user value in username field. Then it will move to line number 9. It will check whether this username field is again empty or not. But this time it is not empty. This time there is already some value which is filled inside the username field. So this assertion will fail now. And because this assertion got failed, it will not move to next step. So password will not be entered. So let's see the example. So I'm just executing this file. I am executing this file now. After executing this file, it is opening the page. After opening this page, it is passing the username. Then it is trying to enter the password, but before that there is one assertion which we have added. And what is that assertion which we have added? So that assertion is basically expecting that username field will become empty. It will check that username field is empty or not. But if you see now, we are expecting it to be empty, but received not empty. So that's why this assertion got failed at line number 9. Because in line number 8, we have already filled standard user value in that username field. That's why in this line number 9, this assertion got failed. Because it is expecting to be empty, but actual it is having some value. So that's why this assertion failed. Now I can use negative assertion also. So now what I want to check is, after filling this standard user value inside the username field, I want to check that value is not empty. So I'm just putting dot not dot to be empty. So in this case, what will happen? We are expecting it not to be empty. So in this case, that assertion will pass now. So line number 9 assertion will pass this time, and it will move to next statement, that is filling password also. So now let's execute this file. So let me execute this file. This time it will not fail. This time it will pass this assertion. It will move to password field. It will enter the password because we are expecting it dot not dot to be empty. So we are used not assertion here. So we are expecting it not to be empty. So this time it should pass the assertion. So this time the assertion should pass. It is launching the page. It will pass the username and password as well. If you see, it has passed the password as also, and the test case also passed. If you see in console, the test case also got passed because we have used not to be empty. And this is the correct statement because this assertion will pass. That username field is not empty now. So these are the different type of methods which we can use on input field. We can use to be empty. We can use to be editable along with expect function. We can also use is enabled method to check if that input box is interactable or not. We can check is visible, etc. So these are some actions, methods which we can use on input box. Example also we have seen. We can use is enabled, is editable, to be editable, to be enabled. Is enabled will return true or false. We can also use is editable, is enabled, is visible. If you want to use negative assertion, then you can use dot not dot next method which we want to use. We can also use to be truthy or to be falsy if that statement which is enabled or is editable etc. are used. That will return true or false, and that we can check by using to be truthy or to be falsy method. So this is the example of handling input boxes by some validations and some assertions as well. In the next session, we will see about some more web elements like checkboxes, radio boxes, etc. So we will see how to handle radio boxes, checkboxes, etc. in our next session. So thank you for watching this video. In coming session, let's meet again.